In this comparative study, I will explore how and with what effect masculinity and gender are represented differently in contrasting cultural settings within the two films Hunt for the Wilderpeople, a 2016 film directed by Taika Waititi, and The Secret Life of Walter Mitty, a 2013 film directed by Ben Stiller. Waititi and Stiller's respective films are two coming-of-age stories, following male characters as they traverse through their journeys of self-discovery. Both films explore portrayals of masculinity which unveil themes of courage and self-awareness. Through nuanced portrayals of masculinity, these films challenge the cultural and gender stereotypes while highlighting the complexities of modern male identity, ultimately showing that masculinity does not always have to be portrayed through strength and ruggedness. Both films critique the ideas of an ideal man in their respective cultural settings. While some film genres tend to characterize men in more traditional senses, coming-of-age films, such as The Secret Life of Walter Mitty or Hunt for the Wilderpeople, can have a unique, more modern perspective surrounding masculinity. Ben Stiller's adventure comedy drama film set in New York City sees the director himself starring as Walter Mitty. Working at Life magazine, Walter is shown as a lonely, boring person with dull clothing, a dull job, and a dull life. Throughout history, patriarchal systems in society suggest that for a man to have achieved success, they must be able to secure a stable income, have a successful dating life, and support those around him. Since the first scene of the film shows Walter viewing his finances and browsing an online dating site, eHarmony, Walter is immediately characterized as lesser than his co-workers, such as Ted Hendricks, a power-hungry douche that represents American success and the American ideal of masculinity and status. He repeatedly belittles Walter for his daydreams, calling him Major Tom, referencing David Bowie's persona from Space Oddity, described by Bowie in a different song as a junkie strung out in heaven's high and hitting an all-time low. Stiller effectively uses this comparison to show the relationship between Walter and a supposed perfect man.
Moving on, as they say. Conference room, more of these stations here where people sort of do their thing.
In Taika Waititi's Hunt for the Wilderpeople, New Zealand's highest-grossing movie of all time, Ricky Baker, an orphan child, and Heck, a widower of his wife Bella, journey across New Zealand in a nationwide manhunt through the bush. Heck, played by Sam Neill, is a clear-cut example of a culture's idea of a perfect man. Rugged, hunts for food with his dog, and is emotionless. However, Hunt for the Wilderpeople doesn't just display this unhealthy stereotype, it breaks it down by creating growth in the character throughout the movie. Heck's journey begins with following a lost Ricky Baker into the bush. On their way back, Ricky starts making fun of Heck because he can't read, and Heck's fragile masculinity breaks as he tries to attack him.
Your little
But instead, he fractured his ankle. While Ricky is the anarchy of youth, by interacting with Ricky, Heck becomes more of a modern man. And during the manhunt, he lets go of Bella and starts accepting his emotions by releasing her ashes and shows his growth and ability to connect with people. He receives knowledge and love in return from Ricky. Having someone who relies on him gives him a sense of worth, where while he would mask emotions at the start, appealing to the traditional idea of masculinity, in the final scenes, he is a very loving and caring person.
Okay, I'll go and get my toothbrush.
Secondly, as both films are adventure comedies, they both use fantasy escapism to deal with their discomfort in oneself, and through each film they grow more comfortable with their identities, making the escapism redundant. While Walter Mitty is a caring son and brother, he is insecure about his lack of relationship, his job, and his masculinity, the trifecta of a traditional manhood. He deals with these things through escapism, by having daydreams throughout the film. These daydreams often show an exaggerated view of himself, being the hero of his own stories. His daydreams allow him to escape the monotonous job, life, and existence that he leads. In his daydreams, he finds excitement, adventure, and even romance.
Chips! Thank you! How'd you know about the building?
I heard barking, thought I smelled gas.
When Walter begins his journey of self-discovery and heads out on a real adventure to find the lost photograph, he has a genuine adventure that parallels his adventurous daydreams. He tells Todd from eHarmony by the end of the movie that his daydreams have faltered, since he started actually having a proper life, and the fulfillment is much more real than previously. The blurred lines between fantasy and reality allow Walter to find the strength to face his fears and transcend his limitations, and ultimately find real purpose in his life.
You have 2 days to print for cover. Here's your quintessence.
Fantasy escapism in Hunt for the Wilderpeople is primarily presented through Ricky Baker's imagination and love of pop culture and his desire to be a gangster. Ricky has a troubled past, so his retreat into his imagination is largely a coping mechanism to deal with his painful experiences in the past and also in the present. He envisions himself as the hero of his own imaginative stories. One example of this is when he's learning to shoot a gun with his Aunt Bella, where he says, I'm imagining I'm a Maori warrior, and that bottle over there is a British soldier, and I'm defending all my wives. He compares himself to the culture's idea of masculinity to deal with the insecurities that he has in his parents and in himself. Over his journey with Heck, Ricky is also able to experience some of these fantasies in real life. For instance, when he gets to protect his uncle from hunters trying to claim a bounty, or when Heck and Ricky run in a car chase, similar to Western-style movies. Due to the ways that Waititi presents these fantasies and daydreams, Ricky is able to cope with his insecurities through escaping into the bush with his uncle, rather than escaping into his daydreams, and develops better coping mechanisms, a prime example being him writing haikus.
Trees, birds, rivers, sky, running with my Uncle Heck, living forever.
In both films, father figures play an important role in shaping the characters' identities and understanding of masculinity. Through these relationships, Walter and Ricky learn lessons about family, courage, and self-discovery, showing the importance that role models can have on one's life. In Home for the Wilder People, Heck is a father figure to Ricky, the young and troubled foster child that is entrusted to Heck and his late wife's care. At first, their relationship is forced, and Heck sees Ricky as a burden, which leaves Ricky feeling misunderstood. However, on their journey into the wilderness, Heck becomes more of a father figure to Ricky, and their bond strengthens. Despite Heck's rough exterior and lack of communication, he becomes a close and reliable figure to Ricky, and even teaches him about resilience, survival, and the importance of family. They grow from a strained and reluctant relationship at the beginning to a mutual, respectful, loving, and accepting friendship. In The Secret Life of Walter Mitty, Walter's father passed away when he was young, and so he grew up without a father figure. His father's death left Walter feeling insecure and uncertain. In Walter's journey to find the missing photograph, he finds the mentorship of several father figures along the way, most notably his colleague and adventurous photographer, Sean O'Connell. Sean encourages Walter to embrace the uncertainties of life, take risks, and pursue dreams with courage and bravery. Walter is also suggested to have become a sort of father figure for Cheryl's child, Rich, as he teaches him skateboarding tricks, just like his dad did to him, and gives him a skateboard after his return from the Icelandic eruption. He is able to provide a sense of love and happiness to someone that reminds him of himself, a positive masculine figure in young Rich's life.